Hi.
Hello, Bonnie. It's so good to see your lovely face, even though it's through a screen.
It's so good to see you too. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm still celebrating in my heart, even though it was a week ago. So
I think
thank
you
you.
deserve like a month for your birthday.
Thank you so much.
I
Thank
feel
you.
like Aquarius people deserve like maybe even 2 months.
Oh
Like
my God. Thank you.
being so much fun all year round, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, I love Pisces season 2, and I love like Valentine's Day, even though it's really commercialized, and I love the spring equinox. So I feel like it's a good time of year. I'm ready for the changes.
Yeah. Wait, so you were saying what is tomorrow? What's up with
Yes.
tomorrow?
So tomorrow is February 11th, and it is the new moon in Aquarius. So the new moon signifies the beginning of a new lunar cycle, which is 28 days. So this is when there's no light from the sun reflected on the moon. The moon is dark. And because the moon represents our subconscious, our connection to our psychic senses, our connection to our intuition, and the really kind of like liminal, etheric, astrally dreamy energy that the moon rules over. Very watery, because you can think of how the moon connects with the ocean and the tides and how our bodies are made of water. This is a time when you can do a lot of shadow work, when we can go inward, when we might be more focused on our internal world and internal landscape versus like what's going on in the physical. But new moons are also when we can manifest, when we can plant seeds, because we have the time from the new moon up until the full moon when the light is growing to manifest, to connect with whatever it is we want to draw in, whether that is something physical or not. And tomorrow we have the new moon in Aquarius, which is ruled, Aquarius is traditionally ruled by Saturn, which is the planet of structure, of time, of boundaries. And traditionally, it is ruled by Uranus, which is the planet of upheaval and sudden transformation. So there's this kind of balance between like creating, and Aquarius is a very humanitarian sign. It's very interested in what's best for the collective and really wants the collective to move forward for the highest good of all. So there's like this energy of like an alien time traveling from the future into the past. I feel like Aquarius is like very ahead of the curve. But it's also this like eccentric energy that is very grounded in like boundaries. It's, Aquarius can be like, honestly, somebody like me. I have my sun, Venus, and Mars in Aquarius, and I spend my days doing a lot of woo woo shit. But Aquarius can also be a scientist who's like making these incredible leaps and bounds to serve humanity. So I call them the disciplined. I call it the energy, the disciplined eccentric, because there is this like Saturnian ability to fucking get shit done, but like not in a way that other people expect them. So tomorrow, not only do we have this chance to really get in touch like with whatever we want, because or whatever is important to us. Aquarius is an energy that is very committed to knowing themselves and to living that truth, which is something that I think we can all use more of. And we have a lot of us have that time to go inward and figure out what those things are that make us tick. But we can really honor that and like take the time tomorrow to work with this new moon up until the full moon to create these structures and implement things that can help us live more aligned with our truth, regardless of how weird or out there or like unacceptable it may be, because Aquarius really wants us to like honor that. But we also, it's like obviously we have the sun and the moon in the same sign during a new moon, or not obviously, but that's what happens during a new moon. But we also have a bunch of other planets. We have Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, and we also have Venus and Mercury in Aquarius. And then there's, I think, some kind of, I don't remember, there's something else in Aquarius, maybe an asteroid or something. But like it's like a supercharged Aquarius new moon tomorrow. And like as I sit here talking to you, you're wearing this like beautiful orb necklace and like green eyeshadow, and your background is a bunch of flying saucers. So I just feel like it's like divine timing that we're talking today. And even, I'm assuming this is not going to come out tomorrow in the Aquarius new moon, but like whenever it does come out, it'll have the energy in this podcast. And we're in Aquarius season up until the middle of the month, a little bit. I think it's like the 18th we move into Pisces season. So there's going to still be, you know, Saturn and Jupiter are going to be in Aquarius for a while. Venus will still be in Aquarius. So we're still able to kind of connect to that like radical revolutionary energy. That's
That's
my
so
rant.
cool. Yay! That's so cool. I feel like um without knowing about it, I feel like intuitively of like this moment, this Aquarius moment, like I just felt like this is like being super super lazy. And my thing was like January was just like the last Sunday of 2020. And
Oh
then
my
when
God, yes.
February 1st hit, it was on a Monday. So I was like, okay, perfect. January doesn't count. It's Sunday. Not doing anything. Like, I'm not even doing things I like. I'm not even treating myself good. I'm just waiting for February and not feeling like bad about it. And
Yay!
just because, yeah, I have that major thing of like, um, where you don't get stuff started because you're afraid of like not doing it right or whatever. And I was like,
Yeah.
instead of trying to do it right, I was like, I'm just gonna feel good about not doing anything, you know. But I
Yeah,
knew,
absolutely.
yeah, I just had a feeling in a way that, yeah, February was gonna bring about like some serious change.
Has
Um,
it?
yeah, it has. I think so. I mean, in the like abductee and experiencer like support group that I'm part of. I'm not an abductee, but I just want to support people that
Oh.
have been. But they've all been like saying this for a while, is like it's kind of sense of urgency of like
Mm-hmm.
lifting the kind of like
Mm-hmm.
vibrations and something, and just saying that there's like their contacts and the people, or the not people, the ETs that they're connected with have really been like just making it seem like this is an important time for humanity to like
Yeah.
come together. And it's also the same thing that like the
Mm-hmm.
psychic community is kind of saying, like spirit guides and guides are really like, this is the time, like we need to,
Yeah.
and it seems like it is too, just
Yeah.
like politically, and just like, yeah, the last year just being a year of, although it didn't completely work for everybody, it seems like a lot of people were just got brought down to their knees and like
Mm-hmm.
we're just like, okay, my body is the most important thing, other
Yeah.
people's body is the most
Yeah.
important thing, like, and I think there hasn't
Absolutely.
been that kind of opportunity, particularly in this country, for people to care about their bodies, like,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. I mean, even what you were saying about taking the time to intentionally slow down and rest in January, I feel like it's so important. And like so many of us were forced to do that in 2020 and like still are doing that. And like, I mean, I think a big part of the reason like so many of us feel like we need to be productive, and like the fact that if we're not producing something or making something, then like there's this feeling of worthlessness, is because it's capitalism. That's what literally like capitalism wants us to feel. It wants us our worth to be based on our productivity. And I think that part of the 40-hour work week is the fact that like you have, you work every single day. If you're in LA or somewhere like LA, like you're commuting, and then you have 2 days during the weekend to like, like run errands, take care of your kids, like maybe have a day to like relax. And when you're that busy and when your nervous system is like that fried from like having to be on all the time and like not having proper rest, like you can't really digest what's going on in the news. You can't really digest what's going on culturally. You can't really digest like what your body needs, because you don't have that time to like slow down and really tap into it. Because as soon as you do, it's like Sunday night and you have to go to work the next day. So I totally agree. And I do feel like there's this sense of like recognizing like how important our breath is, how important our health is, and like the fact that, the powers that be, whether it's like God, goddess, source, whatever you believe in, and even like the government, like more so the government, like they're not always going to be there for us. And a lot of people already knew that, but like helping one another and being there for one another and like having faith and connecting to like ritual and like community has been so vital. And I totally agree with what you said about like our body's the most important thing, because it's all we have. Like that's the only vessel that we're given, which like really trips me out sometimes to think
yeah.
about. It's like I have to be stuck with myself for like 80 more years. That's such a long time. Like I have to be stuck with these thoughts. So, you can only do so much, but the work, it's important to do.
Yeah, I had a really, it's funny that some thoughts like, um come super hard when they come, and they're so like important, and it seems like, oh, why don't I worry about this every second? But like 2 nights ago I was just laying in bed, kind of like, as you do before you go to sleep, and I was just like, oh my god, like this is my body, like I'm just my body, like my body's carrying me around, like I should have, like, and then I just started thinking about like all the drugs I did as a kid, and like trying to mess with my head and like experiment and all of the dumb stuff, and I was just like, man, like that same body is gonna be here the whole time, and I never really considered living past like 20, like it just,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that way, but I really
Yeah.
was like, I can't see it, and now I'm just like, dang, like you gotta like take it serious, and that's why I really like love you. I think like I think some people are tapped into their bodies, and and like Pickle, our bass player, like she's a good like self-care person. She has like, to me what that means is like she takes baths and like
Mm-hmm.
and enjoys them, and like bath bombs, and like has tea, and like what essential oils, and like all of these things that are like for her, like, and but you take it to like another level of like where it's divine and also like sexual. And I think yeah, I guess I just like, do you feel like your sexuality and stuff like that, if it's okay to ask, is like, I mean, it's obviously you're working on it and learning new things, and you're not scared of it, but were you like always that way, or is it just the more like, tell me about your sexual history
Yes.
of just growing into this like amazing person that knows what they want and is experimental.
Thank you. Well, yeah, I feel like I I have always like loved like sexy aesthetics. I've always been really drawn to like boobs and like short skirts, and like always have loved dressing slutty. But like I was a late bloomer in like every sense of the word. Like I got my period when I was the last day of freshman year of high school. I don't have a lot of boobs. They didn't really come in until after that. And like I didn't have my first kiss until spring break of my senior year of high school. Like I was 18. I just was like, it just took me a long time to get really comfortable. And I didn't even have sex. Like, I think part of it is like that we have, at least for me, like reframing what sex is, or more so expanding what that can mean, has been really powerful in helping me explore my desires. Cause like I didn't have, like penetrative sex, didn't quote unquote lose my virginity being a fucking fake ass construct, doesn't exist. I like was like, oh, like, there's this myth that it's like, okay, well, the first person you have sex with, if you're not in love, you're gonna get really attached to them, and like you're gonna be really needy and clingy. So like I was scared of that. So like I did everything but have like penetrative sex, and I didn't do that till I was 21. And like then I started exploring or doing that more. But like I I I'm not, it's so complicated because it's not complicated, but it's weird because like I'm very open about like my sexual exploration, but like I don't think I'm sure people think I'm having like a lot more sex with other people than I actually am. Like I'm very picky about my partners because like I have had partners who like haven't respected my boundaries, and like who hasn't, like what modern fucking woman hasn't had somebody that like doesn't fucking honor their boundaries. Like it's just something, unfortunately, so many of us have had to deal with. But like I've had these experiences that have been subpar, that have definitely taught me what I want. But I really think that a big turning point in my sexual erotic journey was when I was 21 or 22, and I started practicing sex magic. So I started realizing that, or I realized, I don't even remember the first time I practiced sex magic, but I realized that I could use my orgasms and my sexual energy as a way to fuel and charge my spell work and my rituals, and that I could use my orgasms as a way to power that. But it's really when I started working with the goddess Venus, who was the Roman goddess of love and desire and pleasure and victory, and fertility and beauty and war, that I started working with her. And I had this kind of aha moment where it's like sexuality is like, is, you know, I use the word sacred because it's something that feels very important to me and because it connects me to the divine. But like also like I totally support, you know, like I think being sex positive means supporting whatever people want to do to explore their sexuality, whether that means not have sex with anybody or to be, you know, like have sex with a bunch of people. And like one of my friends, Lenore Black, who's also a sex witch, and she brought this up in a caption, I think on Instagram, where it's like this idea that sex has to be sacred is kind of like a Christian construct, that like sex has to be between like a married woman and a man because like that makes it sacred, when it's like it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to do it in a ritual setting, you don't have to do it with a partner for it to be something special. And like I've just been really thinking about that because a lot of the sex like I've had with other partners hasn't been, you know, quote unquote sacred sex. It's been, you know, like fuck buddy hookup situations, which is what I've wanted, which is great. But for me, like connecting to my sexuality by myself, for myself, as an offering to goddess, and like exploring what feels good, connecting to my body, and then eventually incorporating kink and BDSM into that has been like a really big part of my magical practice. Because my practice with witchcraft is really rooted in goddess worship and like the divine feminine, which I really think is an energy and a frequency that connects us to our hearts and to creation, and to for like the ability to bring things into this world, whether it's music, whether it's a baby, whether it's a sense of love, a community. Like to me, goddess energy is expansive. It doesn't really connect with biology. That's not part of it at all. It's a frequency. But because my practice with witchcraft is like so rooted in worshiping the goddess, I started like embodying that and seeing myself as a reflection of her. And
Oh
also,
yeah.
thank you. And also like accepting the desires that I have that are subversive and that like go against the, you know, norms that society wants me to follow. And part of that also has been the fact that like I have, you know, I've dated people, fucked, whatever, but I've never been like, I've never had a boyfriend. I've never been in a relationship. And like I just turned 27, and like that is something I used to have a lot of shame around. But like I have so many friends who are in the same boat. And like I think part of my own sexual journey has been honoring the things that I like want in a relationship, and like honoring the desires that I have, and like not settling because I know how to give myself the things that I want. Like I really had to go through this journey 3 or 4 years ago where like I wasn't really receiving the romance and love and sex that I wanted to receive, and I had to figure out how to become my own lover and like how to give that to myself. And that was a time where I was kind of celibate, like I wasn't hooking up with anybody, I wasn't having sex. And it was really powerful. And I think that having that kind of it was empowering because I was like, oh, like I can get myself off, I can tie myself up. You know, spanking yourself, not as fun as somebody else spanking yourself, but like, oh, like I can incorporate all of these elements of like kink into my own practice by myself. And like then I feel connected to that part of myself without having to settle for somebody who's not going to fully honor it.
That's awesome. I think a lot of people don't like have sex so young that they don't even know it's for them. Like
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't even ever realize it's for them,
Mhm.
and that they can use it um for themselves to empower themselves. And like, yeah, I kind of thought one day I would like grow up and like just be like a woman and just like walk
Mm.
into a room and be like, you know, just like, you're a woman now, like, and everyone's gonna like look at my boobs and I'll be like, yeah. But it's like I still am like waiting for that day where it's just like I own, or the way that I you look at like other, I just think of like Elizabeth Taylor and Cleopatra or something like that, that's just like a
Okay.
woman, you know, like,
Yeah.
and just like kind of like how, I always just wonder like how everyone else um like comfortably, or I guess it's not comfortably, just but how everyone else finds their like sexual being and like
Mhm.
becomes part of them instead of like a separate thing. And I don't know if
Yeah.
that's like society, maybe it probably is, everything is,
Yeah.
but it just like I think it's just so cool that you're like exploring it, and that your relationship with it is so personal because you took the time, like
Yeah.
um you know, like my best friend in high school like didn't have sex until like in her 20s,
Hmm.
um and I kind of thought it was like funny because it wasn't for any reason. Like she just was waiting for whatever, a different
Yeah.
like the right person or whatever. But it was like it made so much sense because when she finally did, it was for her. It wasn't like,
Yeah.
and I feel like, yeah, that's a problem. It's a huge thing. Is I think a lot of women and maybe men too like have sex for the other person or have sex
Yeah.
for reasons that aren't for being in the moment. And I think most people have a hard time being in the moment, even
Yeah.
during sex. And I think that that sucks.
Yeah, it's hard. And I mean, like I am somebody who like thinks a lot, is always in my head, is always like future tripping. Like part of my work with my spiritual practice is to ground and to be present. It's so funny. Like this time last year, I was like, I really want to like be more patient and be more present. Like, and then the universe is like, bitch, you got it for a
Yeah.
whole year. You're not able to go anywhere. Like, oh my God. I like really detest being bored. Like I hate being bored. And like it took a long time during like quarantine pandemic time to like get there. But like once I got there, I was like, I can't do this. I hate this. And then I found something else to do. But it's like, and I think because I haven't, been like, oh, like this person wants to have sex, I should have sex with them. Like, I guess I kind of have, just like with like people I wasn't like super interested in that I was kind of dating or hooking up with. But I think that it is important to like figure out like what you want and like take the time to explore it if sex is something that's important to you. And like remembering that like you deserve pleasure and like there's nothing wrong with that. Like we're not taught that. We don't really, like I mean, I didn't have a very I remember like watching a cartoon about like sex. Like I was in Georgia and we didn't have abstinence only education, which is great. But like we didn't learn about anything like related to pleasure, like the clit. Like there wasn't that kind of awareness. And I think too with like social media and with TikTok and with like blogs and sex toy companies, like there's a commercialization of sex and like people are trying to sell you things to like make you feel good. And there's also this like democracy. Oh my God, I'm not even gonna try to say it. There's this like how sometimes my brain worms. I'm just like, I can't say this word, but I can see it in my head. Life of being a writer. There's this like ability to connect with so much knowledge and wisdom like at our fingertips. Like, and I think that because that can spread through the internet, like the generations under us like aren't going to have the same kind of like trauma with their sexuality that like our parents had, who were like,
Totally.
the stork comes and you get a baby and then they're like on your wedding night you're like, what the fuck is this? Like,
Well, yeah, I remember to like see a naked person, we had to go like, which is so funny to think about this, but we like went. There's like LA Express, the
yes,
paper. It's
okay, yes, yes.
yeah, it's like a paper that has like um ads in it. I guess I don't even know if it's still there, but it's like sex
Oh, got
paper,
it.
smut rag as it's called. But yeah, we used to like go there and like think like look for like stake it out, make sure like no one could see us, afraid like our parents would drive by or like a cop would drive by and like put in the quarter or whatever and sneak it out, and then just like newspaper like that was like
Yeah.
I saw naked people like for the first time in like a black and white newspaper, which I
That's
think is
so
not
cool.
that uncommon, but it's like it's so funny to think about. Like, yeah, my nephews can see anything they want, and
Yeah.
like the ritual of like having like someone's VHS and like sneaking downstairs and like putting it in and like watching porn and being like, what is that, and being like so surprised. And yeah, I wonder what it's going to be like for it to not be like taboo as
Yeah,
much,
for
like
sure.
and it be so accessible. It's kind of
Mhm.
scary, I guess.
It's like anything. I feel like with stuff like the internet, it's like that. And that's like such an Aquarius age invention, this like freedom and connection with like so much knowledge and information like at our fingertips, literally like connecting the whole fucking globe. Um, it's like I think of it like kind of like it's an energy. It's like an egregore. Like, yeah, like it's like anything, like there's going to be really, really great things about it and there's going to be really, really bad things about it. But that's just like the nature of this fucking universe where there's these like opposite ends of the same spectrum. Like, like we're talking, we're not even in the same room. And like, how fucking cool is that? Like, I I feel like every single podcast I do about magic, I have to shout out the school I go to called 22 Teachings, which is Naha Armadi founded it, and it's a school of hermetic sciences and magic. And I attend a weekly occult lodge every Saturday morning, and we're doing it over Zoom. And like, there's literally people from all over the world on this Zoom doing ritual together. And like, yeah, like you can fucking, probably like buy something horrible on the internet and like the dark web or whatever. And like, yeah, like you can probably access some really fucked up shit, but like also like the internet allows us to do things that we've literally never done before. I mean, I say we've literally never done before. I also believe that like in the ancient past, like past when we think was, sorry, my alarm went off. Back in the day, like before we think ancient Egypt was even there, like I think that they had technologies that surpass what we have now, but that's a different conversation.
Well,
anyway,
can I just ask
yes,
one thing about
yes,
that conversation?
yes.
Do you think that that's like an extraterrestrial thing, or just that there was an advanced society here that was terrestrial?
I think it was, honestly, like I kind of do think it was probably extraterrestrial that came here and like brought the wisdom and like, like I've been watching a lot of Gaia TV. I don't know if you like are familiar. There's some really stupid shit on there. Like there's definitely some like conspiracy theory stuff that like I don't fuck with. But like one of my favorite shows on there is called Ancient Civilizations, and like it's just fascinating. Like the fact that there's like pyramids all over the world, the fact that they have like these like resonances with different energies, the fact that they're like, it just, I don't know. It's really interesting to study like different mythologies and see the overlaps, and then like go back and like see the different pyramids and like see the ancient structures and like.
Well, also, yeah, totally. I think
So
just
related.
knowing that like so many cultures have like all the medicines and plant stuff, and like how the just like, oh, I'll just put these two plants together, and then this,
Right?
it's like the plants told you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like there's, and we don't even know what's in the ocean. Like there's so
I
much we
know,
don't
right?
know.
It's crazy. I know. And I think that's like also, that actually really comforts me. It's like, so I had this high thought one day where it's like, there is so much I don't know. There are so many thoughts I've never had. And like, it's so true. There's so much we don't know. And I think that's like so inspiring. It's like, as soon as we limit the knowledge we have access to, like as soon as we think we know everything, like we're going to start missing out on shit. So I hope and I feel like that's such an Aquarius thing too. Like Aquarius is an air sign. Like air naturally wants to move, and it, like it wants to expand and it wants freedom. And I think that knowledge is something that should, like not be limited. It's like, it just makes me think of like Ray Bradbury, like Fahrenheit 451, like burning books because you're threatened by the knowledge in them.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they just found out like within the last 20 years that whales sleep like nose up, like up and down in the ocean, and it's just like
whales standing up. That's
yeah,
so
just like
cute.
yeah, and it's so weird. It's like, so y'all never saw whales sleeping before like 2000? Like
Yeah,
that
so
to me
funny.
is crazy.
So
like,
weird.
but that's how big the ocean is.
Yeah, it's so
Um,
true.
can I ask you one question
Yeah.
that just because I feel like everyone what's it called identifies as is so personal, what you like identify, like what would you say, or what would be on your cosmic business card? Like if that seems weird, it's like mine would be like um musician, dog lover, optimisticism, achiever, joy provider, or whatever.
I love it. Also, optimisticism. Those are two of my favorite things in one word, and I can't believe that
you're an optimistic.
I am. I call myself an eternal optimist, so that would probably be on there. Witch, devotee of the dark goddess of love, eternal optimistic. What else would be on there? Fashion alchemist, maybe sex witch instead of just witch. And then I don't know, there's so many, I have so many things that I like. Yeah, I think that's it. That'd probably be it. Devotee of the dark goddess of love, sex witch, optimistic, fashion alchemist, Um,
That's rad.
yeah, I think that's it.
That's
That
really
sums it up.
good.
Thank
And
you.
can you explain briefly or
Mhm.
opposite of briefly, whatever that is? Can you explain sex magic for anyone
Yes.
that doesn't know what it is?
Yes. So I'm actually about to write about this once we're off this call. So this is like perfect brain warm up.
Okay, cool.
Um, sex magic is TLDR. It is when you use sexual energy and orgasms for a specific intention. So I describe magic as working with energy, action, and intention to create change on the physical realm. This doesn't start in the physical realm, it starts in the astral realm, in the energetic realm. And then that shifts and creates change on the physical realm. And during magic, during spell work, you will do an act that represents or embodies your intention, or you write it out, you light a candle, whatever it is, draw down a god or goddess. And if you're doing a spell, you will have to raise energy for that intention. So what sex magic is, it is when you cultivate sexual energy and sexual desire and pleasure as a way to send out energy for this spell. So a really like simple way to do sex magic would be to create a comfortable space, make sure you're not going to be disturbed, make sure you're feeling yourself. Like it can be as quick as you want, but I really think that getting in the right kind of headspace and really honoring it as a ritual will obviously like create that kind of energy like container for the spell to work. So make sure you're feeling yourself, put your sexy playlist on, put some lingerie on, or don't wear anything, whatever it is, have your sex toys, and then think about an intention that you want. So your intention could simply be to get in touch with your erotic self. It could be to get in touch with your sexuality, but it could also be to like bring something to you. You could bring in love or sex. You could bring in money for your bills. You could bring in health and protection for yourself, for your loved ones. Just because you're raising sexual energy doesn't mean that the intention of your spell work or ritual has to be related to sex. The sexual energy is just a means to an end. It's just a way to uh, fuel that intention. So it can be totally unrelated. So you have your intention, you're in your space, maybe you have some candles lit, and then you will start like you can practice sex magic with somebody else. I'm gonna use example of just doing it solo, and then I'll give my little caveat at the end.
Okay.
But you would, start masturbating, making love to yourself. You can incorporate whatever you're into, whether that's like rope bondage or like stroking yourself with flowers or just like moving and doing some like dancing. And you will cultivate sexual energy. So like you'll masturbate, you'll start getting closer and closer to climax. And some people are like, you have to orgasm, but like there are people who literally can't orgasm and like it doesn't happen every time. And it's like the more you focus on something happening, the less likely it's going to happen. So like don't focus on that. You just want to raise energy as much as possible. Don't think about your intention. Like you can try to keep your intention in mind as you're raising the energy. And I think that sometimes is, if your intention is something like connecting to your sexual energy, then like feeling gratitude for that as you raise energy is important. But you don't have to, because sometimes when you're too focused on something else, when you're trying to like masturbate or whatever, you just get distracted and then it doesn't work and you don't experience the feelings of pleasure. So you have your intention in the back of your head, you just enjoy the sensations. And then as you feel yourself getting to this peak of the sexual energy, as you get closer and closer to climax or orgasm, you will focus on your intention and just like send that energy into your intention. You can visualize it moving through the crown of your head into the cosmos. You can just visualize it moving through your body, or you can simply just focus on your intention. And then once you're done and you're in the afterglow, you continue to just like visualize what it would feel like to attain your intention, like feel it in your body, just hold it in your heart, and like just send out that kind of remaining sexual energy to your intention. So it's really just masturbating and sending out energy.
Cool.
You can practice sex magic with a partner, and like it has to be somebody that you don't have to love them, but like you have to trust them. Like you're combining your energy with somebody else. So like, like it's if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. But like it does have, especially with sex magic, like it does have this kind of thing where it can entangle you in ways you don't expect. And like
Yeah.
it's so powerful to just do it by yourself that like unless you like really have a connection to the person, unless you really trust them, like is it really worth it? It might not be. But you can absolutely do that with like a partner that you practice magic with, or a partner that you love and trust. And you can just like both focus on your attention and like raise energy and cultivate energy together. And I like sex magic because you can incorporate it into like any other kind of ritual practice, whether like you're doing candle magic, whether you're working with a symbol like a sigil, which you'll charge with an intention and then destroy, or a talisman, which you'll keep with you to draw something towards you. You can also work with like amulets. You can use sex magic to banish something from your life and send that energy into like destroying that or banishing that, like whether it's a negative pattern or a negative habit, or just like releasing attachment to something. And you can also use orgasm and sexual energy and sex magic as a way to just like as an offering to like God or goddess or the universe, or even to like your higher self, your HGA or yourself. So there's just like a lot of different ways you can use sex magic, and it's like fucking fun. If you're gonna masturbate, why not like make it magical? So
Yeah, that's why not make every moment magical, but
right,
especially then it's like,
yeah,
yeah, I think it's so hard for people to be present, and if you're not going to be present, then when are you going to be present?
yeah,
It's
I
a good
know,
opportunity to manifest and work on magic. um
absolutely,
and I wanted to ask you something. You're an author.
yes.
You have 2 books or 3 books?
I have 2.5 books. I have 2 full-length books and a guided journal.
Okay. So I think that that is so fucking cool. And
Thank
you're like
you.
just a writer and artist and everything, but I am curious, like, how does one write a book? Like,
Yes.
can you explain that?
Yes, I can. I will say that like my circumstances for writing my book are definitely like unusual, and different than like a lot of other people's experiences, because I started writing about witchcraft in 2015, I believe. 2014, 2015. And I started writing professionally about witchcraft, like actually getting paid for it, in 2015 and late 2015. And I actually got approached by a publisher in London called eBerry Press, which is a Penguin Random House imprint. And they are the ones who had seen some of my columns, from Nylon. I had a column called Ask a Witch, which is exactly what it sounds like. And then I had also written for, at that time, Vice's feminist kind of like women's vertical called Broadly, RIP Broadly. And I used to write for like about like the solstices and the holidays of the witch for them. So I had an editor approach me about writing a book, and then because they'd never done anything like that before, and because they were a foreign publisher, I found an agent. So usually what you would do is you would find an agent, and you would send them uh, what like a proposal. So that would have your intention for your book. And I think that like for me, I found my agent, I got approached to write the book. I found the agent, and then I came up with a proposal based on just like, a couple things that the publisher wanted me. They're like, we want you to write a book about modern witchcraft, like including like tarot and crystals and that kind of stuff. And I like, it's like, okay, like, yeah, like I'll, like I got this. And I sent that to my agent. They met with, I found an agent, and there's like a lot of different ways to do it. Now it's like you can honestly go on Twitter and like search different, like there's probably hashtags and stuff. And there's like a bunch of different like literary agencies that you can find an agent with, but you create a proposal for your book, which will have a chapter outline. For nonfiction, you don't actually have to have the whole book written, but you do need like a chapter or 2 chapters to show what the book is going to look like, what it's going to read like, and what the demographics are, what the style is, who it's aimed for, which I guess is demographics. But that kind of acts as like the skeleton for the actual book. So like having the proposal and having that outline is really important. And then your agent would take it. My agent took it to this publisher and they liked it, they bought it. And then that book turned into Craft, How to Be a Modern Witch, which came out in Europe 3 years ago, and then 3 or 4 years ago. And then time doesn't exist. And then was bought by a publisher here in the United States as Inner Witch, A Modern Guide to the Ancient
Okay.
Craft. And that publisher, Tarcher Perigee, is who I have published my other books with. So not everybody does that. Like you might have your agent might sell your first book to one publisher and then you might sell your second book to another publisher. But like, because I just like have a good relationship with Tarcher Perigee, and because like they're also Penguin Random House imprint, it's all run by women. I've stayed there and they've been great. But you would come up with an idea and then you'd make a proposal and then you would send it to an agent, and then the agent would, if the agent accepts you, you'll sign a contract and then they will sell it to, they'll try to sell it to different publishers. So yeah, it's funny because like for this first book, I'd been writing my nylon column for like 3-ish months. And one of the questions I would always get was like, what books do you recommend for people who like want to start practicing witchcraft? And I literally like, I remember it was like this time 4 years ago. And I was like driving, and I think it was like the last day of February. And like, I got that question. I was like, I could fucking write this book. Like I get this question all the time of like, what witch book like I should recommend people.
Yeah.
And then I got a DM on Twitter from an agent, from a publisher who turned out to be my publisher, asking if I wanted to write a book like hours later. So magic is real. But yeah, and then like it's like weird because I feel like I'm sure it's kind of like the music industry where like I'm like in the publishing world as an author, but like I still don't really understand how it works like on a business side. And like there's really like no transparency about rates. Like the amount that like I only know what other people have gotten paid because like I've talked to authors, and because like to like help prevent this kind of like blinded entry into this field, people were tweeting like how much they would make for their books.
That's cool.
And how much they make for like the advance and stuff. And like,
yeah.
like I'm a white woman, like it's so much easier for me to get a book deal than like a black woman, a black man, like people of color. And like it's important for us like be transparent about those things. But yeah, like I don't really know how other people write their books. Some people will have like, they'll be like, I need to write this amount of words a day, or I need to write for 3 hours a day. And like
Yeah,
I
how
don't
do
like
you do that? Like,
I don't like doing that. Yeah, I have a system where like I will break down like, okay, so like for this, I'm in the process of writing my next book on goddesses and working with different goddesses. And I knew that I had 7 chapters, and I knew that I had like 10ish months. And then like what I do is I will give myself time at the end to edit, and then I will like break down the rest of the time and figure out how much time I have for each chapter, and I'll put that all in Excel, like in an Excel spreadsheet. So I'll be like, chapter 1 needs to be done on this day, or I need to start chapter 1 on this day, I need to start chapter 2 on this day. And then for each chapter, I will go through the proposal, figure out what I want to write, because like your proposal will change. Like there's stuff I had in this proposal that I'm like, I'm not doing that, I'm doing this instead. Like it's, it's a skeleton. But I will go through like, like this chapter, and I'll be like chapter 4, and then I'll make a list of all of the different things I want to include in that chapter. And then I'll look at my schedule and I'll like pick a day to do like each thing. So instead of like writing a certain number of words or certain hours, I write like a certain section of my book.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah, and it's like I'm really lucky that I'm not a person who procrastinates. I mean, I procrastinate like a little, but like I combat that because I give myself extra time, more time to do than I need. So like I don't wait until the last minute to do shit. And like I think it's like writing, it's like there's days where like it comes to me really easily, and there are days where it's like a struggle, and like learning to figure out when you need to write through that and when you need to just be like, fuck it, I'm going to research, or I'm going to read, or I'm going to do something else that contributes to this like knowledge that will make it easier to write, is really important. But like,
how do you like, I guess it's individual, but
yeah.
How do you know? Because I feel like I am like a master procrastinator, and I'm also like give myself so much time because I know I have to procrastinate.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't, when I want to shut down, I feel like I make it like next level. I'm like, the universe doesn't want you to work today, so you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I guess that's why I'm asking, is I want to know so bad. Like, how do you make yourself do stuff?
I think for me, it's part of it is that like procrastinating makes me feel anxious.
Yeah.
So like, if I have something that I know I need to do and I put it off, then what happens is I just keep thinking about it and then thinking about it, and that takes me out of being present and makes me feel anxious. So you know, like I have been kind of lenient on like working on this book like as much as like I could have. I'm not a workaholic. Like I guess in some ways I am, because like I'm like always thinking or planning about my work, but like you will not catch me working till 2 o'clock in the morning. You won't catch me really working after like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, like most days. Like most days I'm done by like 3 or 4 and I'm like, okay, I'm good. And like if like I think part of it with this book is too because like I write ritual guides and like I have like other stuff that I'm also writing and doing that like I just like I know it's hard for me to like write a ritual guide and also work on my book. It's hard for me to like work on my book and do something else. So like I'll do like one thing and then like read or like work out or like do something else. Like I'm still being productive, but like I might not be doing that. But I don't know, it's like it's hard because like sometimes it's like you really don't want to do it and you know you need to do it, and sometimes like you know I don't know, I think for me it's just the way my brain works, and like doing little bite-sized chunks of stuff feels better than like waiting to do like a massive thing, because that would make me anxious. But it's definitely like I rather just dress up and take photos and like do this thing I don't want to do. But I also noticed that like if I you know like put some good music, like some nice solfeggio frequencies on, if like I have a perfume I spray on myself before I write my book, and like if I like sit down and write it with some tea, then like it's always easier when you actually do it. I'm like, oh, like I love writing about this. Like, why
Yeah.
did it take so long? So
That's
I
a
think
good
it's,
point. Yeah.
yeah, like sometimes you just have to start to do it and like trick yourself. Also, positive reinforcement. I'm like, okay, well, if I do this, then I can take an edible later. Or like, if I do this, and like I can take a bath and like read this book. Like, if I do this, then like I can like eat this like chocolatey thing that I've been wanting to eat. Like, having that also helps because it's like yeah, also super helpful for me, um the pomodoro method, where you work for 25 minutes and then you take a 5 minute break, and then you work for 25 minutes and then you take a 5 minute break, and then you work for 25 minutes and take a 10-minute break. And sometimes like the breaks are longer, but like I use a website, it's like tomato-timer.com, and you just press it and it'll like beep after 25 minutes, and you can like set it to take a little break. That really helps because that helps me just focus on one thing for a short amount of time.
That's awesome.
So
That's
yeah,
that sounds good to me.
I'll
Thank
send you the link when we're done.
Yeah, thanks for that intel.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have a couple more questions for you, if that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, one is it's quarantine is over. There's no more coronavirus.
Oh my god.
You take a shower, bath. You like
Mm-hmm.
get just in your outfit you've been waiting to like
Yeah.
get into. You get into it.
Mm-hmm.
You open up the door to your house and you leave. You start walking
Mm-hmm.
and you're walking, you're gonna go like meet all your friends and go to a show. What song is playing in your head? Like, what's your song that is plays when you walk? Your like best walk.
Okay, well, I love this question. It makes me happy to think about the fact that that'll happen one day. Um, okay, I have two answers. I feel like
Okay.
my like one of the songs I love to like walk to. Okay, I have three answers. All Fired Up by Interpol, because it has a really good beat and it's like I've got this soul. It's all fired up, which I appreciate. The song Venus by Lady Gaga, because it's just like the best song. But like also like the fact like opening a door post quarantine, I'm like that makes me think of Abre Camino. So like I think of like your song. Like
No
that
way.
like would be like I just feel like it's such like a big song. I was like thinking like this time last year, I remember just like dancing to that song and like fucking playing it on repeat and like doing all these road opener spells, which is like funny because like even though quarantine sucked and it sucks, like there have been a lot of really beautiful opportunities. So, like it's definitely still work, but like I feel like post quarantine, like what a fucking like road opener moment that's gonna be. So like I just feel like Abre Camino would be like I can just like
That's so crazy.
feel you like I feel like I would be like walking, I'd be like, yes, it's here. The world is open again. Like I can't wait. I have like I'm like, I know what I want to do that day. Like I'm fucking ready. Like I have to figure out the outfit still, but it'll be slutty. I'll be wearing a new bag. Oh my God, I'm so excited. It'll happen one
Well,
day.
I want to hang out with you then,
Yes.
and we should make an Aubrey Camino video if you.
Oh my God. I would like, my heart will explode and come and all the things. So like you don't have to ask me twice. Absolutely. Oh my
Okay,
God.
cool. Well, let's do that because we're just like, yeah, that's what we want to do is just make. I mean, we have no choice but to make videos.
Yeah.
You know, but that would be so cool.
I
A
would
real
love
witch in
that.
our video.
Yeah. I love it so much. I love songs so much. It's so fun to drive to and dance around to. And I just feel like once we figure out how to like open the world back up without fear of like this crazy virus, we're all going to be so happy and so grateful for everything that I feel like there's going to be so much transformation and change really quickly because like we're all going to be feeling, I mean, there's definitely going to be like trepidation and like fear at first, but like I really think things are going to pop off as soon as it starts like becoming normal again.
Yeah, totally.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah, well, at the beginning of this, like the first few Zoom meetings, I was like, I can't do this, like,
Mm-hmm.
because I can't. Interviews are hard enough, but then like when you see yourself, it's just like I just could not get into it, and I was like, you look like a crazy person when you talk. And then finally now I'm appreciating that we have this so much. Like,
yeah, me too.
You know, like we are hanging out right now.
Yeah.
Like, and it's so cool, and it's just like I think that in that same way of like just learning to appreciate what you do have, like yeah, when we're allowed to all be together, it's gonna be insane. Like it's just gonna feel so good because I think it's hard to remember energy feelings. Like you can't like highlight it or like you can't save it. It's
so
not
true.
It's just you can't remember. And the best feeling in the world is other people's energy excited with you. And so it's like when we're actually doing it, it's gonna be better than it's ever been before.
I know. And like seeing you guys at the Edison was the last show I went to before all this started. And like that show was so much fucking fun. Like that was like one of my favorite shows I've like ever been to. It was so good. And like I had these like amazing, like I was like that. And then like a couple weeks later, maybe, or I guess a while later, like right before quarantine, like I went to this like my friend's book release and like a drag artist I love, Louisiana Purchase, performed. And like it was such a great day. Like I had all these.
The next podcast.
Yeah, I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah.
I saw her perform and I saw you guys perform, and
that's
like
so cool.
Those two things have like fucking gotten me through because it's like those nights were perfect. Like we definitely tried to go to oh my God, whatever place that it was supposed to be somewhere else, and then we changed it to the Edison because Clifford's. You're supposed to go to supposed to be at Clifford's, and like my friend Ivory and I are like, oh, like let's try going there for a drink. It was closed, and then we got like followed down like this like not like an alley, but like we got like followed in downtown LA, which was horrible. But then like we went to your show and it was like so good, and it's been like sustaining me through quarantine because like that'll happen again. Like I can't wait to just like smile at you and see you fucking killing it on stage, and like we're all just gonna be so much more grateful. And you're right, like we don't like like that connection, that energy with other people is like so sacred, and it's gonna be so powerful once we can like all merge energy fields again.
People don't remember. That's the thing, is people don't remember what other people's energy feels like, or what a crowd of energy feels like. And like there's nothing like it. Like people coming together to be happy and to celebrate is like it's exciting, it's exciting. And like I think there's also an electricity that started at the beginning of like 2020 that was like it seems like change was going to come. It didn't seem like this was the change that was going to come, but kind of seems like a part of the process towards good, so that's okay. But it's like I think that feeling will continue, and when we get to be together, we're gonna just like cry all over each other.
I know. I'm like, I can't wait to hug with my friends. Like I can't wait to smoke joints with my friends. I can't wait to like do things I shouldn't talk about on a podcast with people. I'm like my liver and my lungs haven't been smoking, haven't been drinking. I'm like, I'm purifying my body so I can fucking go hard in the paint when this is over and I'll be fine. Like that's, I'm like, trying, so we'll see.
Totally. That's awesome. Well, I love you so much.
I love you,
And I'm
Bonnie.
gonna bug you about the Aubrey Camino video because I
Oh my
think
god, please do. Like, you do not understand. That's like the best gift
yeah,
you could.
that's the that's one song everyone's like, why don't you have a video? And I'm like, I don't know, the right one didn't come. So let's talk about that later. But yeah, thank you so much for talking to me. I love
Yay!
you so much.
I love you too. Death Valley Girls forever.
Gabby forever. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna pause this.